Hi, my name is Dr Chatterjee, medical doctor, author of The 4-Pillar Plan and television presenter. I believe that all of us have the ability to feel better than we currently do, but getting healthy has become far too complicated. With this podcast, I aim to simplify it. I'm going to be having conversations with some of the most interesting and exciting people both within as well as outside the health space to hopefully inspire you as well as empower you with simple tips that you can put into practice immediately to transform the way that you feel. I believe that when we are healthier, we are happier because when we feel better, we live more. So guys, I'm really excited about today's guest who is probably someone a little bit different from the past few guests that you've had from me, but really is part of my desire to take health outside the health space. I think health matters to every single one of us because, as I've said on many occasions before, when we feel better, I think we live more, we get more out of life. The guest who I've got on today is somebody who is a TV presenter. She's an ex-model. She's a wife. She's a mother. It's Emma Willis. Emma, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Emma, it's a real honour and a pleasure for me to have you on today. Thank you for giving up some of your time to come and have a chat to me about health.
You are so welcome. So welcome.
Don't think we quite know where we're going to go in this conversation
what
yet.
What are we going to talk about? It's when I got asked to do it, I was a bit like, oh God, I don't know anything about health or nutrition. What am I going to say to Ron? And he knows everything. But I suppose that's the point, right? That is the point,
exactly. I think you, Emma, are very much looked up to by a huge amount of the UK public. They see you on TV, and they have them for many years. And from the outside, I guess you're married, you're a mother, you've got 3 children.
Yep.
And it might appear on the outside that you've got it all: the great job, the great husband. You look after 3 kids. Do you have it all?
It depends what all is, I suppose. Do I have it all in a very kind of happy and loving family life? Absolutely. I have, as you said, a wonderful husband and 3 gorgeous kids. Do I have it all career-wise? I love my job, so job satisfaction is a massive thing for everybody, I think. Yeah, and I have that in abundance. So yes, I'm very happy. But there are, do I have it all? Would I like somebody to do everything else for me? Yes, I would. And no, I don't have that. So as I said, it depends what all is. I think I think I'm one of those people. So some of my friends say that I'm, even if it's sunny outside, I'll say, yeah, but it's still time for it to rain.
Okay.
They're like, you're such a glass half empty type of person. And I don't think it's that I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist.
Okay.
Do you know, that's the way I like to explain myself. I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful sunshine, but the weather could turn at any point. Your job is fantastic and you're doing so well. Yes, I am, but that could change at any point.
In an instant.
So I like to be as realistic as possible. So,
would you say that's different from Matt, your husband? Is he more of an optimist, would you say?
He's a bit of both, really. He's a few things. A couple I can't say. No. He's a realist. He is an optimist. He's a dreamer as well. But he's also a little bit self-conscious, probably. Yeah. I would imagine sometimes as well. So again, it's he's got all of that going on. So when you say, have you got it all? You can have all in a positive way and all in a negative way, can't you? Just because it looks rosy doesn't mean that you're 100% confident and you think that I'm living the dream. There's always that little voice in the back of my head going, any of this can change at any point, so enjoy it while it's here.
You mentioned that Matt might be a bit self-conscious, and if I look at you and Matt, you're both in the media and have been in the public spotlights for, many years now. And I mean, you from my recollection, I don't know how old you were at the time, but you sort of came to stardom, as it were, or came to the public eye as a model, I think initially, or as a MTV VJ.
I was a model for about 10 years, and then I mean, I was never a well-known model, but I suppose my presence in the media started when I started on MTV. Yeah, and I was 26 at the time, going on 27. So older than most when you're just starting out. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to tell people how we met, actually, and I probably should just, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this, actually just, I always like to share that so people understand where this connection has come from. And I got to know your husband, Matt, first of all. And then I think I was in London for a friend's wedding, actually. Mm-hmm. And I was texting Matt and he said, "Oh, we're going out tonight, and, you know, Emma's out." And ended up, I think one of my friends came along and we ended up, you know, partying with you guys, and ended up out with you and your fellow VJs from MTV. Yeah. And I think we might have done some karaoke at some point, but
I mean, we're talking like 12, 13 years ago, aren't we?
A long time ago.
Yeah. So that was kind of the order of the night. Normally, was
back then.
Back then,
in our 20s.
When we're in our 20s, yeah. Lots of drinking and lots of singing.
Pre-kids, that's for sure.
Pre-kids, yeah. Don't do any of that anymore.
No, me neither.
Literally, physically couldn't cope.
But what's interesting to me is that you have, and having been in the media a little bit, nowhere near on the scale that you have, but over the last few years, I've spoken to a lot of females who are on television, and, you know, I certainly get the impression that it can be quite hard for women in terms of how they're perceived and the expectation on a woman in the media. Have you ever felt that, you know, a pressure to look a certain way, or, I don't know, you know, after childbirth, anything like that? Do people make comments, and is that hard?
I think again, as I said, I'm quite a realist, so I'm very real about my body and the way it is and how it looks. And I think being a model for 10 years, that was my instrument. That was what I worked with. That was what got me a job and what paid my bills. And so I had to be very on it, and I had to look after it. And if I looked my best, then I would work more and I could pay my bills, you know. So the minute I stopped doing that, I kind of relaxed a bit more. So I think when I came to being in the public eye and being in the media was when I stopped really thinking so much about what I looked like, because that wasn't specifically my job anymore. My job was to present TV shows and talk and interview people. So I was, I suppose, looking at myself in a different way and hoping that I wasn't being employed because of the way I looked, but because of what I did and how I did it. Now, when I look at myself back then when I started, I was terrible. So I probably was employed more on what I looked like rather than how good I was in my ability. But for me, it was kind of, I would imagine for some people, they get in the public eye and they think more about how they looked. But I'd thought for such a long time about what I looked like and how I presented myself because it was my job. I almost took my foot off the gas with that. And it was one thing I didn't have to think about anymore.
Yeah, that's so interesting to think about.
So for me, it was the opposite way round, really.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very different experience from what most people go through. So you almost had to look good in terms of looking after yourself, because looking good and feeling good, more, I guess, looking good. Yeah. I mean, let's not talk about feeling good. That's a separate issue, which obviously it should go hand in hand, you know, but it doesn't always, does it? And your body was a way of getting work. Yeah. So that was your drive.
That was my living. Yeah.
Yeah. So rather than doing it because, it's healthier, I'm going to get more out of life, it's more actually, if I focus on my body, I get more work.
Totally.
Which is very odd compared to what most people have to go through, or very different, I should say. Yeah. So did the sort of challenges around that, have they sort of fed through to how you are today? And what I mean by that is you're in a different stage of your life. You're a mother. You've got children. But in your 20s, you had to be very particular about the way that you looked. Yeah. Have any of those behaviours or I wouldn't even say insecurities, but potentially thought patterns that came up in your 20s because of that, do any of them still feature in your life now, do you think?
Yeah, I think every now and then they definitely come into play. You know, when we're in our 20s, it's much easier, isn't it? For a lot of people, because we're younger, we are naturally slimmer, we are full of youth and enthusiasm and fun and partying and loving life and enjoying it, which is exactly what I did in my 20s. And then, I kind of have a lovely thought in my head, and because I was a model, I have loads of pictures of what I looked like. And of course, sometimes I get dressed in the morning and I look in the mirror and I go, bloody hell, what's happened to me? Because my eyes are so trained on what I look like and not scrutinizing myself for so many years, because I don't think I really did that, but I was very aware of every feature and what I look like, and the things that probably weren't the things that may have failed me getting jobs. Like my legs were never as perfect as other girls' legs or as thin as other girls' legs. So a lot of times I got cropped out of pictures.
Wow.
Like I would be shot from the knee up rather than a...
Was that hard?
It's a whole modelling thing.
Well, you say
which,
that...
could affect you. But I think, I'm quite level-headed and quite realistic, and my parents have kind of raised me to always keep my feet on the ground. So I'm just a bit like, I was never a runway model. One, I was never tall enough. But two, I would had to really have dieted to have competed with the girls that do that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's just not realistic for my body. So I thought, I just can't be bothered.
No.
So I was never going to be a supermodel, because one, I was never good enough, but also I just wasn't disciplined enough to put myself through it.
Yeah, you say that it is quite a unique thing, I think, as a model to be looking at those things. But I wonder whether in the modern world now, with Instagram and with social media, whether it is exclusive to being a model, or whether that's what many people, both men and women, I guess particularly women, although I think a lot of men are feeling it now as well, a real pressure to compare themselves and look a certain way compared to that person that they see on social media. My legs aren't as thin as that girl's. Or, I know a lot of guys, since the advent of magazines like Men's Health, which is, always would have a topless guy, well, used to anyway, on the front cover each month. I've spoken to a lot of men who that has really put a huge pressure on them to look a certain way. Yeah. Do you think that's something that a lot of people are contending with nowadays? Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's a real catch-22, isn't it, social media? Because it can be fantastic for certain things, and it can also be awful for other things, especially if people are insecure or are looking at it thinking, oh my God, that's what I should be doing. That's what I should look like. That's which is where I think the individual comes in. And I think everybody they have to be responsible with what they put on these pages, as in what other people are viewing. And I, again, go back to, being as realistic as possible in everything that I post. When I look glamorous, I'm at work and I've spent 3 hours in hair and makeup, and that is not the way I look when I get out of bed in the morning. That is my work life, and lots of people put lots of time and effort into making me look a certain way. But then I'll also post a picture of just me on the sofa eating chocolate with no makeup on, sitting in my pajamas, because that is my life. But
I think that's what people really like about you, Emma, or one of the things that people really connect with you on, is that you do seem to be very level-headed. You do seem to have that realistic approach. You don't tend to take it too seriously. It's like, hey, that's one part of my life. This is another part of my life.
It's accepting yourself as well, isn't it? And being able to do that, and getting to an age or a point in your life where you do accept yourself. So like I said about my legs, I would always be cropped. Back then I was kind of like, I should go to the gym more, I should work out my legs more, I should try and make them the best I can make them. You've got to make the best of what you have without pulling yourself apart and picking yourself apart and driving yourself absolutely insane. But now that my body isn't my living, I'm like, right, okay, this is what I have. And I'll, again, make the best of it. And they're never going to be supermodel legs, but I have legs, they work, and I'm happy. You've just got to put everything into context.
Yeah.
And again, I suppose with, I've dabbled with diets earlier on when I was younger, and Matt, as you'll know, tries lots of different things for the best way for his body to function. But again, I just kind of think if you eat sensibly and you exercise enough, you'll maintain a good, healthy body. I think it just seems quite a simple way to live.
What have you, since you became a mother, has that changed the way that you are with yourself in terms of, health choices you might make? Has being a parent changed anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, you suddenly you realise your mortality, don't you, when you have kids?
Yeah, big time.
You just kind of, before I had kids, I was like, I will do anything. I will go anywhere. I'll throw myself out of a plane. I will do this, that and the other. I am all about adrenaline and fun seeking and living life to the max and having the most fun. Now, I won't do anything or go anywhere for the fear of something happening. You just, and then you kind of go, right, I don't want to drink anymore because you don't know what that's doing to your liver, really. And all of a sudden you become a grown-up and you but half of your brain is still this 20-year-old that wants to go and have fun, and
still
you feel like that,
and
still thinks you can.
Yeah.
And the other half is, my God, I want to live as long as possible and be as healthy as possible because I want to spend as much of my life as I can with these little human beings that I've just created. So I think everything changed for me, the way I live my life, the way I look after myself, the way I think about sugar, especially now, and chocolate and sweets and treats, which I lived on and loved. And now that I'm looking at my little people, I see how addictive it is.
Being a parent changes everything, doesn't it? It's just a different perspective. And that attitude to risk is something I've experienced myself. I've certainly seen it in my wife, and since she became a mother, it's just like night and day, her attitude to risk. It's. I wonder, is it the same for both sets of parents, or is there something about the maternal bond that actually is even more so that actually, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I think about these things all the time.
Again, I suppose it depends on the individual, doesn't it? But, I think the minute our first child was born, Matt changed immediately. He's an extreme thrill seeker and enjoyer of life, as you know. So a hell of a lot changed for him in many, many ways. But also just his, for example, he'll hate that I'm telling you this, but I walked home from work. I walked in from work the other night, and my daughter ran and opened the door, and she said, I'm going to get told off for this, Daddy's crying. And I was like, what? And he went, yeah, he's crying at the end of the movie we're watching. And and he started crying at movies a lot.
Oh.
Right? He never cried at movies before, but now he cries at movies quite often. And I walked in and I was like, are you all right? And he's like, yep, it was just really emotional at the end. And I said, what movie was it? And he went, Paddington 2. Oh. What? I thought, who's watching a real tearjerker? But apparently it's quite emotional.
I've not seen it yet either, actually. I know my kids have, my wife have. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either, but a couple of my friends I've just seen have watched it, and they were bawling at the end as well.
So make sure we've got some tissues with us if we go and watch it.
Whether it changes to men, I just kind of think it's a paternal thing, right? Like if you like, I watch lots of medical programs on TV because I love it and I'm obsessed with it. Whether it's 24 Hours in A&E or One Born Every Minute or just anything to get my fix of hospital life. And Matt is just like, I can't watch it because I automatically think, what if that were me or you or one of our kids? He said, and I just can't cope. So I think it does. I think it changes everything in mum and dad. Did it with you?
Oh, yeah. Hugely. I mean, it was just life-changing for me. Where that just sounds the most obvious thing in the world, doesn't it? Of course, having a child would change things. But, certainly some people will know this story about my son was, he was pretty unwell when he was 6 months old. And, we thought we were going to lose him. And that, there's very few situations in life, I think, that will change you like that. It significantly changes your outlook on everything. And, arguably, if that had not happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today in my job and what I'm trying to do with public health. I'm not sure. I may have got there a different way. I don't know, because obviously I can't unknow what I know.
Yeah.
But it changed everything. And then, I struggle sometimes with, I'm very much about promoting health, because I think a necessary prerequisite for us to live our best life is to feel good. I genuinely feel that it's not about necessarily being obsessive, but it's just about when we nourish our bodies and our minds with the right things, whether it's food, whether it's movement, whether it's sleep, whether it's having enough downtime and chill time with people that we love, I think we get more out of life. A lot of people I meet, a lot of patients I see, actually, a lot of the time that they're sort of fighting or they're arguing or they're stressed out is because actually they don't feel that great. They're not everyone, but a lot of the time that if you are chronically overworked and underslept, what is your relationship like when you've not slept very well with your kids, with your husband, with your partner, with your work colleagues? It's not the same as when we're well rested. Exactly.
Snappy.
Yeah, but then and that small snappiness in the morning, then there's a lot of knock-on consequences. You snap, then there's a bit of distance builds up, and then
guilt,
and you got this whole circle of emotions that all came, arguably because you didn't sleep well. But it may have all come because I stayed up too late watching Netflix till midnight, so therefore I'm knackered in the morning, and that means all my relationships have been affected.
Yeah.
Throughout the day. And my approach is never to say we shouldn't watch Netflix, right? My approach is always to try and empower with helpful, non-judgmental information to say, hey, look, when we are feeling better, we're getting more out of life. But, I find it hard with my children because I find I think, it's so hard to keep your children healthy because of the way society is set up.
It's so hard.
And what do you find hardest as a mother who's trying to raise healthy, happy children? What's the hardest thing you find?
I mean, I'm kind of my own worst enemy, really, because, it's sweets, isn't it? Sweets and treats and chocolates. But I love them. And, when I was little, I was given it whenever I could, let's give, does little Em want some chocolate? Does little Em want this? I'm like, yes, just take it all. Yeah. And I loved it. And I suppose when I first had Isabel, when she got to a certain age, I couldn't wait for her to try this lovely little bit of chocolate that's, we all love. Yeah. Because it makes us happy. It tastes amazing. But it is, like you say, it's everywhere you go. You walk into any shop and it's placed there right by the till. It's on the TV. It's it's all around. And I think we really try, like every January, we do sugar-free January and we all do it in the house. The kids can't have it. It's just gone. Anything we have left over from Christmas, we lock it all up until February, or chuck it in the bin, which is an awful waste. So we try and make it last till another month. But just to, give their bodies a rest, because December is just so full on with Christmas and, overindulgence and really stuff that you just do not need. So we always do that in January, just to give their little bodies a rest, but also to train their brains that they shouldn't have it all the time and that they don't need it. And I find that they're much more focused and they sleep better when they haven't had it.
That's interesting, isn't it? So you do it, but then what's the impact of that? I think that's the exciting thing. What happens when your kids don't have sugar in January?
Yeah.
Sleep?
They sleep better. They're less snappy. They're less moody.
So less tension at home. And
their concentration is better. Don't get me wrong. They're golden children. Yeah. Honestly, they're absolutely fantastic. But, they get grumpy like we all get grumpy. I just find they're much more on it. they're much more switched on and focused, I think, because they know it's not an option. Sit down and do homework. Can I have a treat afterwards? That doesn't happen in January because they know the answer is always no. Do you know what I mean? So they're like, right, okay, they get on with it. And then, can I have some grapes? Yep, absolutely. Knock yourself out. Eat all the fruit you want. It's just bizarre. Like watching behavioural patterns like that is...
It's amazing watching it in kids because I think kids are almost... It's easier to see in children. I think sometimes they can be very quickly responsive to these changes. You can give a small kid a bit of sugar, and you can actually see the behaviour start to change.
Yes, oh yes.
Yeah, and would you say that when adults give up sugar, often you get some sort of withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
Headaches, irritability, can't sleep sometimes. It's incredible, in many ways similar to a drug in some ways.
That's what I mean when I said earlier, like it is addictive. Like we all just crave it. And I mean, we can't talk for everybody, obviously, but a lot of us just love it and want it. And
you say not everyone. I think we're hardwired to crave sugar. The big problem isn't that we crave sugar. The problem is now that it's readily available and it's everywhere.
In everything, yeah.
And that's the problem. Is that that's an ancient biological mechanism to crave sugar, a quick source of energy.
Yeah.
We've never had it so readily available as we do now in 2018. It's just, and it seems to be getting worse each year.
I love cutting it out. Like I really do, because I think because I love, as I said, I love things all like hospital related and body related. I think I'm quite in tune with my body. So I really notice how better my body functions when I don't have it. Like in every way. Yes, I might have a headache for the first couple of days, but that in itself is telling me the toxins that are coming out of my body are making me feel like I've been out drinking for a whole weekend.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like that's not right.
No. Whether you talk about sugar, whether you talk about alcohol, whether you even talk about caffeine, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I've got a love-hate relationship with caffeine.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah, me too. But if I suddenly stop, I'm not that pleasant to be around. I get headaches. I can be very moody. Yeah. I think, wow, is it good on one level to be that dependent on a substance whereby without it, I can't function?
Yeah.
And that's my own inner demons I'm working on at the moment with caffeine. But what exactly were the benefits when you give up sugar?
My system worked better. I think I was less snappy. Probably myself more focused as well on, or more rational maybe, not more focused, but more rational in my day-to-day life. Like I would get less stressed about getting out the door in time for the school run. Do you know what I mean? And because they haven't got their bag, I'm like, come on, why haven't you got your bag? Get out the door, get in the car. I'm not going to tell you again. You just a bit more like...
calm.
Okay, right. Yeah, totally. Much calmer, much more level-headed about things. And my physical functions just work better. Like my body is like, okay, this is a regular occurrence today. But whereas with sugar, I mean, I'm all over the place.
It's incredible to think.
And bloating.
Bloating, really, yeah.
Bloating, yeah.
So I guess so many things are coming into my head, but one of them is...
I feel like I'm in your surgery.
No, this is great. I'm really enjoying the chat.
What's wrong with me?
Well, I kind of feel so you do this in January as a way of resetting things and reminding yourself.
And a detoxing from December.
Yeah.
Because it's so indulgent.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? And it's...
I mean, I'm not a big drinker. I'll probably drink twice a year, tops.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So for me, that is not, like lots of people do dry January or lots of people are like, oh my God, I've got to just drink less. I don't really drink. So for me, it's treats.
Are you, on drinking, why is it you think you drink less now than... Well, I don't know how much you used to drink in your 20s, having said that, but
a lot.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking this is because as part of my own journey and as a parent of two young kids, I'm just finding more and more I don't want to drink alcohol anymore, or very rarely. I don't have any problem with alcohol on a ethical, on a moral perspective, nothing like that. I've had my, fair share of partying years.
I know.
I've just got to that point where I've realised I've done it enough times. Even now, a glass of wine for me, I don't sleep very well. And then the next morning, I don't feel very good and I'm a bit snappier. Has it been a conscious decision for you to reduce alcohol?
Not really. I don't really like alcohol. So whenever when you're in your 20s or whatever age it is that you're kind of going out and enjoying yourself, I only really drank to get drunk. So I'm not somebody who goes, oh, I'd love a glass of red just to relax at night. It's just not, I don't really like the taste of it. It was for me just
everyone around you's doing it. I'm going out to have fun.
It's a social thing and a fun thing, and that was it. So I don't really miss it in any way, really. And also, Matt doesn't drink, so it makes that's just our lifestyle, really. Yeah. And as I said, a couple of times a year, maybe on my birthday or someone else's birthday, then I'll go out and have a few drinks. But I kind of don't like being out of control now. Do you know what I mean? And I don't like my day ruined the next. God, I sound like such an old woman. I don't like my day being ruined the next day. I hate the fear that you get the next day and the
anxiety.
God, was I an absolute idiot to be around last night? And that whole kind of embarrassment of, God, was I talking rubbish? I just can't deal. Life's too short to be worrying about things so insignificant as what all the rubbish you've spouted when you've had a drink.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I just go, if ever I do, I just go out with close friends. We have a really nice time. I'll only ever get to a certain point of tipsiness, and that's me done. I can enjoy myself like that. I don't need to get hammered anymore.
So it wasn't really a conscious decision. It's just progressively happened more and more. No, it's just kind of
the way my life has ended up.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the first times I started to reevaluate my relationship with drinking, in terms of, yes, I'd gone out and partied, let's say, with friends and stuff, but if you were meeting up with friends, you'd often have a few beers. That's kind of what you did. And I remember after my son was born, 4 or 5 weeks into that, I met up with a friend at a local pub and went out and had a drink. And I think I only had half a pint or a pint. This is, about 7 years back, something like that. Mm. And I didn't sleep that well. And the next morning, I just didn't quite, slightly fuzzy-headed.
Bit groggy.
And I just wasn't... Actually, maybe it was a few months more than just a few weeks after. I just remember not being in a clear state to engage with my son. Mm. And it really frustrated me. I actually thought, that's not his fault. He just wants to do what he's always wanted to do, because I'm not feeling it at the moment. I'm probably... And I think that was a start for me to go, wait a minute, I'm not sure how this kind of fits in with where I'm going. I don't think I realised it at the time, but I'm pretty happy now, hardly drinking at all. I'm close to not at all, but I guess maybe that's that social conditioning that makes me stop saying, I don't drink. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty close.
Well, because you do drink, you just don't want to.
Exactly, but is it social pressure without even realising it that... I don't know, but I think about this. I think about this quite a lot. So, okay, you were saying, so in January, you sort of, because you don't drink so much, you don't go and do dry January, but you reduce your sugar intake or cut it out completely.
Refined sugars.
Yeah. So you're still having fruits and...
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're almost like my replacement.
So that's interesting, just by cutting out refined sugars. Yeah. So you're having plenty of sweet things like sweet fruit and...
Totally, yeah.
But even just by doing that, because I think some people think, I've got to cut everything out.
No, I couldn't do that. No. I think... And we need it. We need a certain amount of it, right? Of the right type.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just got to be careful we don't go to these extremes and make things so... set the bar so high that nobody ever is going to achieve it, and we're just going to feel like we failed the entire time.
Exactly. It's about, again, being realistic, right? So I kind of go, right, for January, I'm going to be sugar-free, refined sugar-free. And that is what I do every year. We've done it for about 4 or 5 years. But if it, if all of a sudden it's Sunday night and the kids are in bed and Matt and I are watching a movie and I'm like, oh God, I'd love a bit of chocolate right now, then I'll have some.
Yeah.
But I just have to, in my brain, set it that for that month, I am going to do something right for my body and get rid of all the rubbish I've been putting in it for the last 11 months.
You've done it for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Does feeling those benefits within January make you change your behaviour beyond that?
Yeah, because for me, we make the whole family do it January, but for me, I will do it throughout the year as well. So if I suddenly get to May, I might go, I'm gonna knock sugar on the head again this month.
So it's a bit of a constant reset when
yeah, I mean, I just feel like I need it. And to be honest, after January, I'm normally pretty good. I don't, I'll have it every now and then. If I want it, then I'll have it. But
so do you think
I kind of get myself out of the mindset and out of the addiction of needing it all the time. And then probably by April, May, after a really busy beginning of the year, all of us, when you're on sets as well, there's just chocolate everywhere. It's like, do you want a snack? Do you want this? And there's a bowl of grapes or a massive bowl of chocolate, and you're like, I'm just gonna have a little bit of chocolate. Before you know it, you're back in it again, and you're eating it all the time, every day. I reset probably 2 or 3 times a year, I would say.
It's interesting because it makes me think about our environment. And one of my top tips for people is always control the environment you can control.
Yeah.
I.e., once you step outside the front door these days, anything goes. You're having to exercise willpower everywhere. You want to fill up your car with petrol. You've got to walk past, as you're standing in line, you've got to walk past, the chocolate bars, the crisps, the drinks. You want to buy a coffee. And you're standing in the queue at the coffee shop. You're looking at the pan of chocolats and the
everything comes in lovely.
Yeah, and even if you have used your willpower to say no, then the barista will then say, hi, well, would you like a pan of chocolat with that? So I think one of my sort of top tips for people generally is control the environment you can control, i.e., if you don't want to have it, keep it out of the house. But obviously when you're at work and you're on a TV set, it's there. You might be running between shoots. You might have been really, really busy. It's pretty hard to exercise willpower in those environments, I'm guessing. It
is. And also because I think... So I can, like in January, we filmed Big Brother. So they're like, what do you need in your room? And I'm like, I need nuts and I need fruit and I need some cheese and I need, that's it. How about chocolate? No. Just for it's January. I don't eat chocolate. Biscuits? No, literally, I don't eat like refined sugar. Can you not put anything? Don't put it near me. But it's quite difficult because I work with people. So I've got my my hair and makeup people who I've worked with for years, and they're really good friends of mine. They're in my room with me as well. So I can't stop them having it. I can't force them. So it is there. But in those situations, like you say, it comes down to willpower, and you've got to have that strong mind to get you through it. Yeah, change your environment, but you've got to change your own mindset as well.
By telling your team in January that that's what you want in your room, you just want fruit, you want a bit of cheese, you want some nuts. Do you ever do that when it's not January? So let's say you're doing a different TV show and they say, what would you like in your room? Does that behaviour ever transfer out of January? So yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? I've got the guys that I work with, they're brilliant, and they are, they're very similar as well. They're kind of like, I'll do a detox, or I'll do.
So you're inspiring others around you by doing it.
I mean, they do it anyway. So if I'm like, oh God, I'm really trying not to eat chocolate, they're like, oh, brilliant, let's all do it then, because I don't want to eat it either. So it's not like I've kind of got a bunch of very kind of different minded people around me. We're all.
I'm just going to highlight that point for people listening to this. Some people may feel that, you're a TV presenter, you're in a studio, that's a different life to what I lead at home, let's say. But I would argue that actually that kind of challenge where you're in your work environment and you're being exposed to lots of other temptation, chocolates, crisps, sweets, because all it takes is somebody who wants to bring it in.
Yeah.
You can be in an office of 20 people, and if one person wants to bring in the box of celebrations or the crisp packet, that's where it sits.
There. It sits there, the lid's off, you walk past it every time you go to the loo or to the water machine, and there's another little
so I'd
Malteser ball in your mouth.
exactly. And, the only time I get tempted really these days is when I can't control my environment. So I remember, NHS wards can be dreadful for this. You're on nights and at the nurse's station, it's just full of biscuits and sweets and crisps, and you're knackered.
That chocolate will keep me awake.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember this January, it's the first time I've ever had a book out, and I was doing all the promo. I had no idea what promo for a book involves, and the irony of promoting a health book around the country is it sort of certainly has a negative impact on your own health whilst you're trying to promote a health book. And I was tired. I was sleeping in different hotel rooms, and I was starting to make poorer choices than I would have otherwise, and I would start to feel it. I was more sluggish, I was tired, and then when you are tired and sluggish, you crave more poor food choices to keep you going, and it's
and also comfort eating.
Comfort eating, exactly. Yeah. Or you're in a hotel room by yourself, you're not around with your family, you just, you can see how people fall into those traps. It's like a constant battle. But I just want to draw really, really hammer home for the listener that, the approach that you take in your dressing room, Emma, in January is a sort of approach that people listening can take in their own offices or in their own workplaces, which is, if you're trying to make some healthy food choices, recognize that you can get sabotaged without realizing it at work. And, I call it keep that emergency food, keep those snacks with you. So bring with you to work, onto your desk, into your drawer, nuts, fruits, things, so that even if you are faced with temptation...
Don't keep the cheese in the drawer.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's a tip.
You need it in the fridge.
A smelly workplace.
Smelly drawer.
But I think just being prepared is a very helpful tip, and you've as a way of sticking to your January detox, you tell your team. But I honestly feel that people can learn from that and go, actually, just make sure that you've got healthy foods around you. So even if someone does bring in that temptation, you've at least got another choice.
Totally. Look, I would much rather have a little mini Snickers than I would a handful of cashew nuts. But if I'm trying to, live a little better for however long, then I go, it's 4 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I can live without it for 4 weeks. It's not like I'm capable. I'm a mum. I am raising children. I can stick to 4 weeks with no chocolate.
Sounds like you talk yourself into it at the moment.
Just try and justify it all in my head that way and balance it all out. I can achieve this. It is possible. My biggest problem, I think, is lack of sleep.
Well, I was just going to come to that, actually, Emma. I was going to come to talking about, I talk a lot about 4 pillars of health, four areas of our health that actually we've got some degree of control over that have the most impact on the way that we feel, both in the short term but also in the long term. Food is one of them. We've covered that. But the other 3 are movements, which I think a lot of people think about, and, movement and exercise. But the 2 ones that I consider to be most undervalued across society are sleep and relaxation, which is the whole stress piece. If we, I did see some photos this morning on the internet of you working out with weights. If we got time, we'll come to that. But I'm really interested because this is something a lot of mothers who I talk to, both patients but also friends, really struggle with is, I'm trying to work, I'm trying to bring up children, and I don't get enough time to sleep. And I'm always on, and I don't get a chance to relax enough. Yeah. Tell me about sleep and relaxation.
Relaxation, I suppose I'm not very good at it. I'm not someone who, and my mum is the same, so I know that I've literally just got it from her. We're cut from the same cloth. So, I just don't sit down. If I have a day off, it's not really a day off because I won't enjoy it or sit down or just, watch a movie. A day off just means you work in a different way. You work at home and do all the things that you need to do at home. You do the washing, you do the cleaning, you do the cooking, you do the school run, you do the shopping. Do you know what I mean? That is a day's work in itself.
You said something really interesting. You said, if I have a day off, I don't enjoy it. Do you mean you don't enjoy those chores or those roles, or you don't consider it enjoyment, as in you're not just switching off and doing something for complete pleasure?
That's probably, I probably worded that differently. No, I enjoy doing all of that, right. But it's not I think in my mind, when I think a day off, it means having nothing to do.
Right.
Therefore, relaxing, being stress-free, enjoying something for yourself, a massage. That doesn't happen. A day off is a day of work doing housework or being a mum or a wife or doing that type of job. Do you know what I mean? A day off of my day job is that, which I love, and I love being at home. But it's still quite stressful because you want to get everything done, and there's never enough time in a day to get everything done. I find.
Well, Emma, I don't think it's just you. I find that everyone finds that these days, and this is part of the point of me talking about relaxation, is that if we are waiting for our to-do lists to be complete before we do something for ourselves, before we do something to relax, actually that ain't ever going to happen.
No, exactly.
It's never done, which is why I'm a huge proponent of saying, look, guys, even if it's 15 minutes a day or maybe, 2 hours once a week, I feel these days we almost have to schedule in our me time. But it sounds like you don't get the opportunity to do that.
Not really. And Matt has always said that. Like, I started going back to the gym after I had Trixie, and I started to enjoy it because it was a bit of me time. Like, it's not the me time I ever thought I would enjoy doing, going to the gym. But it was just that time for me to engage with my own brain again and think about what I was doing for myself just for 1 hour, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. But I couldn't justify doing that for me when there was so much to do for everybody else. I was always at the bottom of my list. Do you know what I mean? Like I just put myself last because I wanted to make sure I had done everything else, or everything else felt more important than going to the gym. Like it seemed.
I hear this from.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I hear this. I've got to tell you, I hear this more from mothers than I do from any other sort of set of people I talk to. I really do, and again, that could just be the people I see. I'm not saying that's necessarily reflective across the whole population.
Matt was the one that said you have to make it happen because he makes it happen for him. So and if he doesn't fit in that bit of him time, he gets quite frustrated because
I think that's the male thing as well. I'm the same. If I'm
that way,
if I'm at home for a week and I'm just around the family and I'm not doing anything for me, I can start to feel this kind of, I won't call it annoyance, just it starts to build up inside.
Agitated.
Yeah, even if it's for me, even if I can just go in the garden for 20 minutes and work out or something, it's just something that gives me a bit of space. And actually, the way I try and tackle it now that I've got children who have always been early risers is I get up super early because I need to have, for me, half an hour, ideally an hour, but my daughter has an incredible knack of knowing when Daddy's downstairs. Yeah, I will get up, I will creep downstairs, I will literally be as quiet as possible. I go to a part of the house where actually it's nowhere near her bedroom.
Yeah.
But, before you know it, there's little footprints are coming in, and I'm like, oh darling, I'm just trying to do this. She's like,
that little yoga session.
Yeah.
Gone.
Goes, oh, you can do it. I'll just sit here with you while you do it. And it is the best, and it warms. It totally makes my heart absolutely sing when it happens. But would you feel, let's say, if someone said to you, this is going to be really good for you in your health, right? Having a bit of me time. And let's say, you mentioned a massage, let's say a 1 hour massage once a week. Would that almost make you feel guilty because you'd think that was an overindulgence?
It depends how busy my week is. If it's not a busy week, then I'll go and do it. But if I am working all week and if I'm working all week, then no, because any spare time I have, I want to be at home with my kids.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I get that.
And so I can't. But and without sounding like, I need some me time because my kids drive me crazy. I don't mean it in this way at all. But at some point, how when I'm really busy, it's like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks pass, and you still haven't had just that half hour to just stop for a second and reset your brain. So I suppose what you're saying and what Matt says to me is right. Like you have to make it happen. Like he will get up early like you to go to the gym and train or to meditate or to do yoga in the morning or whatever it is. But I can't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I might have been awake half the night with Trixie. So I'm like, sleep is so much more important to me because I don't get enough of it than that half an hour of me time. I need that extra half hour of sleep. But it's a constant juggle, isn't it? It's
You've got a young child.
I've got a young child as well. Yeah.
I'd say you've got to,
And I'd got to a point before I had her when both of my kids were at school. So if I did have a day off, I had some me time. And I love my kids and I love being around them. But it did make me start to feel, I suppose, normal and grown up and slightly sane again.
Yeah. And I think certainly my wife is just experiencing that now that, since September, both of my kids are at school.
Yeah.
And I think she has really noticed a huge change in her mental well-being. And, I've got to be careful how that sounds. Genuinely speaking, both of us love being around the kids.
Totally.
They are amazing. But I think certainly for my wife, she gave up everything to become a mother, a very good, successful career. And I genuinely feel that this has been huge for her, that both kids are at school. Just that little bit of time where you don't have to be thinking about them. I think that it's been very, very important. I think
you kind of go, don't you, from, no matter if you're the nicest person in the world, before you have kids, you can live a very selfish life and do whatever you want when you want to. And then in the space of one day, everything changes and you have to be the most selfless person because they have to come before anything.
Yeah, agreed.
And rightly so.
I almost cut you some slack, Emma.
When that changes and they get a little bit older and they get ready for school and they go back, you're suddenly like, oh my God, I can do what I want for a couple of hours.
Even though, she'll say the school day is incredibly short once, you
can still never fit everything in.
Yeah, but I think also for people who are listening, when you have got young kids, you've got to cut yourself some slack. Your sleep does get disrupted.
Yeah.
You are tired. You don't have time.
You just have to kind of resign yourself.
That's just the way it is.
Don't you? It's like, do you know what? For the next couple of years, it's going to suck. My sleep patterns are going to be bad.
Exactly.
But do you know what? They come in the middle of the night and they're all like shuffling across the floor and going, I've had a bad dream, or I need the toilet, or they just wake up and come in. And I love it. And I'm like, yep, get into bed. I don't care if you kick me all night, because in a few years' time, you won't even want to talk to me. Probably.
Well, I think it's a great lesson, Emma, for people. Take the pressure off a bit.
Yeah, totally.
Take the pressure off.
Just kind of go with it. Maybe that's not the best parenting advice in the world, but there's no set rules, and every kid is different and every parent is different, and we are all just trying to do the best we can. So just listen to I just always kind of trust my gut and listen to my kids and just try and do the best I can. And when I'm losing my mind a little bit, I just have to step back and go, they're kids.
Yeah.
They don't know anything really other than what you're teaching them.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Just, if you're going to shout at them, they're going to learn how to shout. And if you're going to be anxious and wound up and get stressed, they're going to learn about stress, anxiety, and get wound up as well. So just try.
I mean, I think that is the
and
best bit of
step
parenting
back
advice, because
for a second, it's hard to do. Trust me, because I flip all the time. But afterwards, I try and learn from every time I lose my rag or get anxious or snap at them by going, like you said earlier, it's not their fault. They don't know.
And they're going to learn that, aren't they? And,
Totally,
kids
yeah.
learn, as I've learned over the last 7 years, kids actually learn and do what they see you do, not what you tell them to do. And actually, that's one of my big motivators for change in terms of my own life is, actually, I don't want to snap at them. I do sometimes, and I feel guilty as anything afterwards.
And as you said, we snap from our own...
It's our own stuff
that we've got going on.
Because I know there's 6 emails sitting there that I need to get back to, and but the kids don't. They're just like, "Oh, Daddy's here after school. I want to play." Yeah. This is not meant to be a consultation. But Emma, one thing I'm going to say though, because I can't help myself, is this whole me time concept is, it doesn't need to be an hour massage.
No,
it can be 5 minutes a day.
Yeah,
and.
Even if it's just to sit down.
Yeah, sit down, have a cup of tea, in quiet. Or, people talk about mindfulness, talk about meditation, but, these can be quite scary terms for people. I'm very much into talking about a daily practice of stillness. Yeah. Some time in the day where you just have a bit of time to yourself with some sort of quiet. And when I say quiet, it can be listening to music, right? You could put on your favorite bit of music with your headphones on. And I would argue, as long as we're not scrolling our emails and social media at the same time, that can be a switch off. That can be a meditation. That can be a bit of mindfulness, like picking 2 or 3 of your favorite tracks, closing your eyes for 10 minutes and just listening.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a car or a taxi on the way to work, some of these meditation apps, my favorite at the moment is Calm. You can do 5 minutes of that. It almost becomes a habit where, when I'm on the train back and forth to London, I will try my best. I don't always do it, but I'll often just try and put on Calm for 10 minutes. So I know on that, almost nearly 2 hours train journey, which I do several times a week now, 10 minutes of that was a bit of time for myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I would kind of, if possible, and again, you didn't come here for a consultation, but I would say,
like it though.
I would say, just have a little think. I hope that, and you can let me know how you get on. But maybe just think. Actually, I'm going to just give myself 5 minutes of time today, because the 5 minutes is much more achievable than 1 hour.
Totally,
right?
Absolutely.
We've all got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but
Sorry, Rongan.
Hey, no worries at all. That's what it's like. Text messages, emails coming through. We forget to put it on airplane mode. That's real life.
Sorry.
No, but that reminds me of another thing which we do at home. I don't know how you guys are with dinner times, but we've got a screen-free rule at the dinner table, which, without mentioning names, not everyone always sticks to. But that's something that I'm really, really strict on at home, because I feel you've got to try and protect that time around the dinner table. And again, I appreciate it's not practical, or not everyone feels it's practical for them. Yeah. Is that something in your house that it's an issue? Screens at dinner time, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, screens at any time really are I think probably more of an issue, obviously, for me and Matt, because our kids are young, so they don't really, they have an iPad, but we limit how much they can use them.
Yeah.
And we don't put the TV or any screens on when they're eating dinner.
For me, when I talk about screens, I'm talking primarily about, I know how distracted any of us are when there's some great research. If you have a conversation and we both got our phones here, we're not as present with each other's conversation as if there's a phone there.
And that's something we were finding, like the minute the kids went to bed and the TV would be on, and Matt and I would finally have some time together, and it was like we were like this. And I was very aware of it, so I'd already said that I wasn't going to use my phone in the house before 9 o'clock in the morning. So before the kids went to school, I wasn't even going to touch it,
tip.
Apart from to look at the time in the morning when I got out of bed. And I would leave it next to the bed plugged in until I'm back from school run, and then I get my phone and the work day starts, and then I can use it. And the rule is that it's down again at 6 o'clock, and I don't touch it until they've gone to bed.
I mean,
But then I found I was touching it when it was my time with Matt, and then I'm looking at Instagram or whatever, and I suddenly realised, and I looked at him, and I'm like, we're not talking, conversing, like filling each in on each other's day, even though we've probably done all of that anyway. But
so many
you've
couples
got to just.
It's when the kids are in bed.
But you have to make it a rule, because otherwise,
make a rule.
And it's awful that you have to make it a rule.
Yeah.
But it's the society we live in.
Even you say you don't look at your phone in the morning, apart from obviously to look at the time. And actually think about that for a minute. It's kind of like that's how much we're reliant that we have to look at that for a time. We can't look at a clock anymore. We can't look at, so it's crazy how much it's infiltrated our lives. And this is the subject for another conversation. But I see the impact on relationships. Like, I'm not talking about kids now, just adult relationships with these devices. I think it's quite profound, because what's happening is that because we can personalize everything, we can have our own emails, our own social media feed, our own shows on Netflix. We don't have to compromise anymore. We don't have to, like, let's say 10 years ago, before all this stuff, or before it became so widespread, people would often, they'd watch telly in the evening, and
they'd
you'd have to compromise.
You have to agree
you
on
have
what
to have a conversation
and
agree and communally
Totally.
share that experience and talk about it. Whereas now, you can either sort of watch the same thing but still be on your Twitter and everything whilst you're watching, or you can both on your own devices, or you catch up on your thing, I'll catch up on my thing. And I think this is having quite a profound consequence for many of us. But
now when we kind of like, if we catch each other, like work emails obviously come in at all times of the day and night. So that is allowed. If you have to reply immediately for something, that's allowed. But if you just kind of online shopping or on social media, I'm like, and Matt is a lover of online shopping, so I'm like, put that down. And he does straight away. But he's the first one to say, I am addicted. I can't.
But I think the first step is just awareness, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For all of us as a society, I think we've got to recognise that technology has exploded in the last 10 years. There are so many benefits of that technology, but I think we also need to recognise, actually, we need probably some good practice rules across society. How do we use technology that it really helps us and nourishes us, and not in a way where it controls us. And I think that's what we're going in the next few years. I think we're going to start getting, these are good practices for technology. I certainly think it's very much needed.
Let's hope so.
And I always try and finish off with, and again, I appreciate, you so far quite an unusual guest for me, but one that I've really enjoyed, someone I've really enjoyed talking to, because I think, real life stories, real life issues, and how, what challenges they pose, I think it's very inspiring for people. And I think everyone can learn something from the things that you shared with me today. If it's a health expert on, I always ask them to leave the listener with some top health tips, for example. And I wonder, although I think you've just given a fantastic tip, are there any things that you would share with parents or anyone listening, or even mothers, things that you found helpful that you think might help them? And one comes to mind is the one you just said, which is you don't really use your phone till after 9 a.m. That is huge, I think. That is absolutely huge. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Again, because like you said, we're all so... Everything is on there now. Everything is on our phones. Our whole life is on there. And, the minute you wake up, your life begins, right? So it's kind of hard not to. But I mean... I always find it weird, like kind of giving advice or tips for things that work, because things that work for me may not work.
So what's worked for you? What are the top things that work for you?
That obviously works. I do like the fact that I don't touch my phone until 9 o'clock in the morning. Well,
you've got these rules in the evening with Matt, haven't you, about social media and sort of technology?
Yeah, I mean, that's... I kind of feel like maybe lots of other people don't do that, though. Maybe I'm just a little bit naive in my thoughts of. I think that's maybe just me and Matt doing things like that. But
I think it's not widespread.
Maybe it is everywhere, and I suppose it's got to be, hasn't it? Because I do think it's very addictive. It is. It's very easy to kind of pull that screen down and watch that little thing that goes round, waiting for it all to reload to see if something new is going to pop up on your timeline.
Well, Emma, look, I'm going to take the pressure off you because you are such a lovely lady, very modest. I know you probably feel something uncomfortable about trying to give other people advice because that's just who you are, and I really respect that. So I'm going to say for you that I think the things that you have, some of those things such as, for people who do need their phones in the morning, I understand it may not be applicable for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great tip. And it's something that even if I look at my phone before 9, I get up super early. So I do try and have about an hour and a half in the morning without the phone going on. Or if it's on airplane mode. So I can use a meditation app without actually getting all the noise. If I'm at home and I'm walking the kids to school, I've started maybe about 6 months ago not taking my phone with me. I tell you, the school run is a different experience when you don't have your phone because you don't keep checking it for the time.
Yeah.
You don't. I bought a watch actually. I put a watch on. I thought if I need the time, I'll
Kids
just look
don't
at my
want to
watch.
play games on it.
Yeah, and you don't get distracted. I remember once walking my daughter to school and an important email, because they're all important, aren't they? Email came in, and I started reading it and thinking about it. And my daughter was chatting to me, and I didn't hear a thing that she said because I was so engrossed in what had come up. So, I think that's a great tip. Try and limit your phone use in the morning. And the other one I'd say that you've said is, try and, if you're with your partner or with someone else, try and limit your phone use when you're with them. I think one of your top things that you came out with today, I think, is, just take the pressure off yourself a little bit. I think that's.
I think also.
I think a lot of mums feel that these days.
Yeah, there's you mentioned kind of like social media and everybody kind of having a presence and an image and looking a certain way, and I think we can get so wrapped up in watching what everybody else is doing that we're not kind of focusing on what we are doing or what we have and the people around us. So I try not to focus myself on everyone else or worry about what other people are doing.
Just be more present.
Want to concentrate on myself and my life rather than looking on Instagram and going, oh, what are they doing? Why are they there? What's going on? What's she wearing? Oh, what's he doing? Like, oh, that's a lovely picture. That's nice. Right. Yeah. Where are my kids?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what? I think for people hearing that from you is incredibly insightful because I think everyone has FOMO of some level these days.
Totally.
Doesn't matter who you are.
I mean, I have
doesn't
it
matter
in
what
abundance.
Yeah, and people probably wouldn't think that you would. But
you can't change it. Like, don't be jealous of other things.
Yeah.
Just be supportive of people. There's a whole other kind of part of social media we could go into, and that's the kind of mean side of it. And
there is that. I think we all know that.
Yeah, absolutely. But just support and embrace and enjoy things for other people, and just crack on with yourself. And
well, Emma, look, I can't thank you enough for your time today.
You are so welcome.
I've really enjoyed that. I'm very sure that many of my listeners are going to really enjoy that conversation and your insights. And look, maybe at some point in the future we'll revisit this and
absolutely.
We'll continue this. So thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you, Rongan.
That concludes the latest conversation on my Feel Better, Live More podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do take a screenshot of this page on your phone right now and post it on social media. Please do tag me on Instagram stories, Facebook and Twitter, and please do use the hashtag #FeelBetterLiveMore. I want this podcast to help transform the health of as many people as possible. So if you could also leave a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts, that also helps me spread this message further. I'm always open to more suggestions. So again, please let me know on social media if you've got any more suggestions on people you would like to see me interview on this podcast. Thanks for listening, and I hope you can join me next time.